Reading requires effort, it requires thought, it requires use of your imagination, it requires thinking ability, whereas the others do not require thinking ability. Um, you know,
Hmm.
I, I've seen it expressed before, and I completely agree that if you raise someone to read, you raise someone who to think, and that's why it's so important.
Absolutely. That's why we have a huge emphasis on books with our son. Even now, he's 7 months old, but um, unless he's really putting up a fight and is overtired, every night we read him.
Yeah. See, that's such a wonderful thing. It's funny you say that. And there was a point recently when I was going through some of my old belongings, and I guess I was in a sentimental mood. But I was looking back at some old report cards, and like the first ones, like when you're in kindergarten, when they had a lot more commentary. And one of the things I discovered, I didn't really know, but one of my best memories was that my dad would always read to myself and my two younger brothers. But I didn't know that that wasn't always a thing. That's the thing about childhood. You don't really remember too far back, but you have that one strong memory. It turns out the
Hmm.
reason my dad was reading to us was that because of that report card. I was struggling in school, apparently, and they said, hey, you need to start reading out loud to your daughter to help her strengthen that. And so that began that family night of let's read to Zoe and her brothers, and that was what taught me to read, because that was the goal. It was to teach me to recognize the alphabet and teach me to recognize words. Um, and my brothers would always pick the same story over and over again. They had a favorite. It wasn't my favorite, but it was their favorite. But I knew that story backwards and forwards. I had it memorized. And from that story, I learned to pick out the words and then read the stories I did like. The teacher's advice did work, and it created a very nice memory for me. So, thank you to those teachers.
Yeah, reading out loud is a wonderful thing. It's why I start most of my classes with a read aloud. 10 minutes, we choose a book, and actually, um, this year my students chose my first book to start with, so I've been reading
Oh,
them my books,
nice. Well,
which has been fun.
yeah. Well, how cool that, first of all, they get to read the first 10 minutes of the class. And second of all, they know the author. I mean, how many of us get to say that? Um,
Not a whole
no,
lot. So it's been a fun
absolutely.
experience.
What age group do you teach, if I'm allowed to ask?
Oh, sure. So it's kind of a unique situation because we're a relatively small school. We have just over 60 students, but we have departmentalized the third through the eighth grade. So I teach all of the language arts and a music class to the third through
Okay,
eighth grade
very
students.
cool. So that coincides with like some of my memories. Like I'll never forget the teacher in my fourth grade class who would read to us out loud this book series, back when the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew mysteries were popular. He
Mm-hmm.
pulled out a mystery series no one had ever heard of, and probably still have never heard of, called the Three Investigators Mysteries.